Homesteaders, my name is Melissa with Gullion Hempstead, and welcome to my channel where I focus on homesteading skills, self-sufficiency, and resilience. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. So this video is going to be concentrating on Comfrey. So if you know anything about Comfrey, or if you don't know anything about Comfrey, I'm going to try to give you as much information about this herb as I can on this video. So I'm going to start by just sharing with you why I have Comfrey in my home. I don't grow Comfrey. It is spelled C-O-M-F-R-E-Y if you are new to that herb, but it's incredibly invasive. And from the research that I've done, it goes like, I think that I read 30 feet deep, so it's almost impossible, the root does, so it's almost impossible to get it out of your yard or get it out of your garden. So I choose to purchase from a good organic grower that I found online, and I just buy my product from them because there are people that actually farm this and grow it in their yard, and it's, like I said, invasive, so it will just spread everywhere. So if you have a lot of property, I do not have a lot of property. I, however, would consider planting this if I had some acreage in a corner that it wouldn't matter if it actually took over. I absolutely would do that. And we'll probably do that when we actually move out onto a piece of property, which is our plan. But as of right now, I purchased my Comfrey from an online source that is a good source, and it's organic. They dry their Comfrey and then I buy it that way. So what I'm going to be doing with Comfrey is I'm making an ointment. And Comfrey is really good for lots of things, for rashes, for pain. I'm specifically making an ointment for Steve and I to have around the house for pain, like if we have knee pain or back pain, or if sometimes when we are after we've gone to the gym or we've worked out in the yard a lot, we have some muscular pain, just because we're using things we don't normally use. And so Comfrey is really good for that. So the one thing that I would say is I've made this before, and I made a quick version of Comfrey. This time I decided to infuse my Comfrey in some olive oil for a really long time. And I believe that this has been going since May 9th. So it is July, the middle of July now. So this has been going for 2 full months. You can do this for anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, works, but I just haven't gotten around to actually doing this. So all I did is, actually this jar was full of Comfrey in my storage pantry. I actually have a ½ gallon, and then this is what I had left over from what I made before. So I just poured my carrier oil on here. You can use olive oil, avocado oil. And honestly, I can't even recall what oil I used. I might have used an avocado oil. I don't even remember. But you can use any kind of carrier oil to actually pour over the top of this. And all I did was fill this up. You can see it's full. And every once in a while, I'll just come in here and just kind of, mix it up a little bit just to make sure that the oil is getting in all of the Comfrey. But it is a nice dark oil now that's infused. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this oil, we're going to strain it off, and we are going to make a Comfrey ointment to be able to keep in our house to use throughout the year. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can strain off your Comfrey off your carrier oil. I'm going to start with the simplest way that I know to do, and that is I'm just going to take this simple strainer. If you don't have one of these strainers, these things are great. They're $1.25 at the Dollar Tree, so any dollar store pretty much has them. I have 2 of these in my pantry at all times. They last. I have had the mesh kind of rip out of here before, but I think the last one I bought I had for at least a year. So pretty good deal for $1.25. I am going to do my best at trying to strain this off first by just using this strainer into a mixing bowl. So we might end up having to use a cheesecloth, but I'm going to get like the largest really chunks of Comfrey out of my oil first to start. So it just makes it a lot easier than having to take all of this comfrey and squeeze it through a cheesecloth or a cheese bag of some sort. It's just easier to get a lot of this stuff off first. So I'm going to go ahead and just pour my comfrey into my mesh strainer here. And as you can see, I've got a lot. I have a lot, and there's a lot of comfrey, and this fills up pretty much this strainer will fill up a quart size jar of comfrey. So I'm just going to allow this to drip for a while and see if I can get this strained out as much as possible. Now I do have a few little floating pieces of comfrey in there. That's okay. I'm not sure how much of this how much more oil we'll get out of this, but we'll let this strain. Just going to let it strain for about 30 minutes, see what I get, and then we'll come back in a few minutes and in a little bit and see where we're at with this. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you about comfrey is that comfrey is a little different than other herbs. And when I say that, what I mean is on how you can use the comfrey in your medicine cabinet, I guess is what I want to say. You do not want to ingest comfrey, and I'm here to tell you again, do not ingest that. And if you're one that listens to only part of this video, I'm here to tell you that you need to do your own research. But I have done my research, and I've listened to a lot of other YouTubers and people that have educated me on this herb itself, and it actually can cause liver damage and liver failure if ingested, especially in large amounts. So it's really important that you do not take this and make a tea out of it and drink it. So I would only use this in a ointment or a lotion or something that I'm going to make externally. So it is, when you actually use it externally, use such a scant amount of the comfrey that's in the carrier oil. You use such a small amount because we're going to put it in with some other ingredients to actually make our ointment or our salve or our lotion, whatever you want to call it. You have such a little amount that it doesn't absorb into your skin enough to actually hurt your liver, but it does if you ingest it. So just make sure you're doing your research before using this or making this herb. Let's let this strain off. You can see it's still kind of straining off some oil. Let's just let that sit and strain off, and we'll be back in a little bit to finish out our project. Okay guys, I'm back, and pretty much everything is strained out of this. I was going to maybe squeeze that through I couldn't remember last time if I did this or not, but I was going to squeeze this through a cheesecloth, but this is like pretty much bone dry. So I'm just going to toss the comfrey now, but you can see it is, I mean, it's dry. There's like no oil in it left at all. And I let that drain for about 30 to 45 minutes. So now what I have is a nice, really strong comfrey oil. Let me show you. If I just take a ball jar, you can see how dark that oil is. So it's really concentrated now because it's been sitting for about 2 months in a carrier oil. Now, I believe that I used coconut oil, if I remember right. So now what we need is 2 cups of this oil to make what our salve or ointment that we're going to make for our storage, long-term, short-term, whatever you want to put it. We need 2 full cups of this oil to make this salve. So I'm going to go ahead and strain this again, but I'm going to strain it into a measuring cup, a full 2 cups. Now, if I can get more than 2 cups out of this, we'll just see what we get first. Let's go ahead and strain it out. Let me show you guys. And I have another kitchen project going on back there, but I'm just going to pour this in here and see if I can get as much, and I get just about 2 cups, which is great. Just a saucepan. And this will actually clean up pretty easy with just hot water when you're all done. So you don't really need to worry about using a special pan for this. you can just use soap and water and it'll be completely safe for you to use for cooking in the future. So I have 2 cups of my Comfrey infused oil. Then we're going to do half a cup of beeswax. I also buy my beeswax online. This is an organic beeswax and it is the little pebbles. I'll turn my gas stove on medium and let that start to warm up. And then we're going to add half a cup of beeswax. And of course, I got a little bit more in there. So I think what I'll do is just throw the rest of this oil in there. Let me go ahead and strain the rest of that off. My beeswax got a little crazy when I tried to dump it into my half cup container. Now, a great way to get this all kind of melted together is just to use a rubber spatula. Now you can add some vitamin E oil if you would like. I have a little bit of coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of that in there. It's just really good for your skin. So, but if you have vitamin E oil, you can do that as well. And I'll just pour like about a tablespoon in there. And that's starting to melt up nicely. Let me show you what it looks like. So you can see that is melting quite nicely. You can see this is melting quite nicely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some rosemary oil. I've got some rosemary oil there, and I've got some lemon essential oil. So it suggests, the recipe I have actually suggests that you add 20 drops of oil. So I'm going to add 20 drops of oil to, I think I'll do 10 of rosemary and 10 of lemon. So I think we'll do 10 of rosemary and 10 of lemon. There's our lemon. And there is our rosemary. And all I'm going to do is get this nice and melted so it's nice and liquidy. Okay, so you can see it's all infused. It's starting to, it'll dry here on my spoon. So let's get a container out and we will start to pour this into some prepared containers that we can keep in our pantry. Okay guys, we've got it all ready to go. It's all been incorporated and melted and smells lovely. Let's go ahead and pour it into our containers for our storage. Okay, homesteaders, so we have infused our comfrey. We bought an organic comfrey. Remember, you can only use that for external use. Do not ingest this. It will begin to harden I have it in some little ball jars. You can actually already see how it's starting to cool off, and you're going to get a kind of a salve type ointment in your containers that you can use. This should stay good for, I would say, a year. There's no water in it, so there would be no reason for it to grow any mold. And then I will just put a screw top in it, and I will keep it in our medicine pantry, and then we will just use it as we need it throughout the year. Now, I would say I don't know much about how safe this is for children, so make sure you do your own research when it comes to that. And also that if you do choose to buy it online, make sure that you're using it from a reputable source and that you know what you're buying. So we hope you've enjoyed this video on Comfrey salve or Comfrey ointment, and we hope you'll come back and join us for some other things straight out of the garden.